A quick list of near-death experiences. Many of these stories I have already told on my podcast, recorded vocally online, but with apps comes subscription and ongoing cost to sustain the platform, so, rather than the stories go left behind, floating behind financial hostage, I though ID type a list to start to describe each near-death experience I ever had. From my memory of young to old, these are the stories that had a profound effect, saving my life in the moment or coming back from the abyss of darkness. I have survived long enough to tell you this, that inner voice, the one that yells and screams at times is right, and to listen to that voice when it gives warning. Stop avoiding the calamity that would have happened had you stepped forward, ignoring the advice. Swinging on the Flying Fox with my sinister sister. My sister and I finally arrived to newly opened Play Park, traveling from St. Mary's to Enfield Park, an hour or so away, but for us kids it was forever, so the kids wanted to leave instantly after the car arrived. Full of expectation and anticipation once arriving, we were stopped and told to wait, in the glazing heat just outside the park. We waited to meet up with lost family members traveling in from different areas. All us children were itching with eagerness, run off and explore the entire park, still waiting for the adults to unpack, match up siblings to take of each other. We then took off, running about and exploring, finding all new hiding holes, using the moving parts and climbing the wooden bridges. We loved the fire poles and rope nets. Even better, the awesome little cubby houses in corners like forts under our command, and below a play area of little cafes and fake shopping market made us a maze. To the left the tallest swings and to the right the longest slides, that curved and weaved between each other. The Flying Fox at the top of the hill was over 30 meters long, fast and super cool. We were very impressed with the new park. My sister invites me to hold to her and ride on the Flying Fox. Fat ass sister lands on top of me after holding her hips to glide along, I'm sure with purpose. My sister loses grip and falls off, landing on me underneath, her fat ass crushing my chest, the air forced out of my lunges, unable to breathe, in or out. I hold my chest in pain and panic, gasping twice and falling unconscious. I blacked out with her fat ass claiming the triumph of the knockout. Unable to breathe, the black abyss rolled over and covers my eyes. A cold rush tingles from head to toe, as I remember my mouth trying to breathe. The panic stopped and all fell black and silent. The sudden emergence of colorful gases similar to cosmic stardust sparks and spreads behind the eyelids of the unconscious. Death was not to come yet. Light brighter than the sun itself shines into those same closed eyes, the light so bright that you must open your eyes to escape and awake back to this life's reality. Trapped in a car with my sister during the summer heat. Trapped in a car with my sister in the summer heat, a form of punishment from my drug-addicted mother. Heat stroke and near death. A violent outburst caused a fight between my sister and I. Shortly after, I remember punching her face and a tooth falling out. She later thanked me and said a tooth is nothing to sacrifice when you're facing death. Cooking a 60-degree car under the summer sun of Australian suburbia. Okay, she didn't word it as well, but she did thank me for survival, even if it was by knocking her tooth out, which she had once already caused herself, by rolling a large green white across her chest and losing control to bang her mouth and smash out one of her two front teeth. Shortly after getting it fixed, we were put in this situation, and we all know kids in hot cars die, and my sister and I were ready to kill each other. With our heated brains cooking under the metal and the lack of air with the windows closed, we were ready to kill, kill, kill. Unbridled rage, siblings saved by their fighting when teeth were lost in a fisticuff battle, seeking help from adults. Yelling out through closed glass, my sister holds up her dislodged tooth as evidence that we needed help. Finally we were realized, and days after the tooth were fixed. Falling from the world's best treehouse over the summer, my dad and I had begun building the world's best treehouse. My father was a tradesman at heart but never had any formal qualifications, just imagination. Some of the best memories were forged in its construction. After driving around for many weeks and collecting lots of recycled material to build a massive treehouse around the tree in the backyard, I had thought up all the excuses I could use to make an invitation to Wendy to come over and see me in my own private palace. The treehouse is finally finished, perfect, with 2 levels and fully tinned roof. After the family barbecue and drunken opening ceremony, I now had my opportunity to invite Wendy up and into the treehouse, so I built up the guts and asked. She eagerly agrees and we make our way up the treehouse ladder. Coming onto the first level, she's seen I had couches, carpet, even an existing fire pole and pigeonholes for gadgets and gizmos. Looking up the massive tree, she sees the large trunk has plants leading to the rooftop. As I go to lead her further up 3, taking one step onto the ladder, Wendy pulls me back and straight into her face. She tilts her head and breathes on my neck. In one monition, she pins me up against the tree. With nowhere to go, her strawberry blonde hair flicks to one side. She looks me in the eyes and smiles, leaving her hand pressed hard against my chest. She lowers her body, looking in one direction, down, dropping to her knees. Her other hand rubs my inner leg up to where she cups my penis softly. Now leaning in with her face, she looks up. Her chin rubs my throbbing erection as she strokes the shaft with her cheek on the outside of my clothes. She asks simply, please, looking up, grabbing the top of my pants line. I'm frozen with fear at the time. Paused, like I'm having a stroke. This is the best thing ever and the scariest thing I've ever done. My hands in the air. As she lowers my pants a little bit more, I'm now just exposed. As gentle as a butterfly, her lips softly touch smooth over my knob with a big kiss. She looks up. Her tongue peeks out from between her lips as she pulls my pants even lower. The tip of her tongue touches and leads the pants line further down, relieving everything. She gets even more excited, expressing it with a giggle and a wiggle. With one hand swiftly grabbing the top half of my penis, the other hand ensuring the pants hit the ground, coming further in. Her lips wrap around my shaft with a kiss. Her moist lips slowly lead her eyes back up the shaft to tickle with the tongue. Slowly raising her head, she's making eye connection. Her strawberry blonde hair, cute cheeky smile, a picture-perfect moment. But, when she leant back in, I freaked out. I don't know why or what happened. I just jumped up ladder on the trunk of the tree, scurried up and out the top as quick as I could. It lead to the top of the treehouse where you could oversee the entire street. Climbing my way up the trunk, then onto the roof, I slowly made my way across, feeling the strength of the beam below. The roof itself only made of thin aluminum tin. Without hesitation, I make my way to the edge. Wendy pops her head up through the roof's hole. She started to make, wanting to finish, catch and kiss again, so I'm standing on the edge of the thin tin, flexing my muscles, showing off to the world below. I look around at the view thinking this is great, telling Wendy look how high I am, so I turn to the street and flex all the muscles in my body, like I'm the Hulk, and as loud as I can I sing out to my followers below. Look at me, I'm the king of the castle. The weight is taken from under my legs. I gasp in despair, losing my breath and my lungs empty of air as felt myself falling. The tin had broken away from under my feet. As I fall, my eyes to connect to Wendy's, whom is still partly climbing the tree to get onto the roof. The shock of horror on her face as I disappear through the front part of the tinned roof. Eyes as wide as dishes. There was nothing she could do. It was late. I'd already fell. The ground was raising up fast, as I braced for the hearty impact of the dusty ground below. Before my body made the horizontal impact, I felt a tight pull around my waist, like a hand had reached out and grabbed me. Bracing for moments, I looked down to see my undies strapped to the tree branch and taken the force out of the impact before I landed. As my body hit the ground below, I remember then looking down at my left hip because I could feel an intense pressure pointing into my flesh. It felt like my skin had been stabbed by the dusty floor below. I looked down to a T-bone the dog had chewed down into a shape-pointed bone. I remember pulling the bone away from my unbroken flesh and seeing where its point had almost broken through the skin and pierced my guts. before I inhaled one last deep breath before everything went black and I passed out. Chapter multiple head traumas and more. Rock fight rock at the BMX bike track. Rock fight rock at the BMX bike track that resulted in a rock connecting to the center of my forehead. Watching the rock fall from the heavens. Thinking that's a good throw, the rock growing larger as it drew closer. The gray gravel jagged stone fell with the speed of gravity. As I'm looking at it, I'm reminded of a meteor falling from outer space. I stood staring at the awesomeness of the incoming rock in wonder of it coming from such a distance. Kaboom, smack, bang, splatter, thud. The rock making direct impact to the center of my forehead, instantly seeing darkness. My body falling to the ground like a limp doll. To me it was as spontaneously knocked out. A quick cold rush of blood to darkness. Others seen the impact coming, helpless to stop, or suddenly surprised. The rock hitting my forehead with force. The rock smashed into my face with such force it folded my body in half. When the rock hit, the force to my forehead pushed my head back, whipping it backwards towards the dirt. Within a second, it all happened. A loud thud got everyone's attention as they looked to see my head wrenched back, whipping my legs out from under me as I'm folded in half, my spine bending back until the force flicked me to the ground with my legs being the last to land. Witnesses look over to see me, a 7-year-old child, laying with a massive gash leaking blood from his face. The split in the center of my head was gory, the blood pulsating out with every heart-throbbing beat. Nobody knew what to do with a child gushing blood poured from his head. Apparently my father came out from nowhere, saying, "Move aside, move aside, I'm here for my unconscious child," scooping me up. A father in rescue mode. A few stitchers to put me back together, inserted by the fantastic Dr. Lee Ho. Like magic, presto, I was fixed and ready to go again. More summer days at the BMX track. The creek tunnels, summer storms and the slime time. The creek, a normal narrow stream of moving water, clear enough you think one could drink it. The creek ran for kilometers, bedded by concrete. The creek met with thousands of flowing streams and a variety of tunnel systems running under and through our suburban towns. The slime time, the end of one tunnel that opened up into a large concrete slab, the walls slanting out opening up into a V shape to join the main water system. However, this engineer must have had a beer at lunch and fucked the blueprint design as the concrete slab pooled water to a still pond of inch-thick slippery, slimy green goo algae moss that infested the floor of the elevate slab. Oh, the artist. So, instead of the water draining, we children found opportunity for fun by sliding, slipping, wrestling to sweep over each other into the goop of surely infectious sewer drainage from the surrounding suburban tunnel system. One time down at the slime time, a sharp shard of glass cleanly cuts my wrist. I remember something sharp swiped past, and when I looked, one big open gash. I swear I could see bone. I held it tight, squeezing, running as fast as I could home. 5 stitches and shots of penicillin from our favorite doctor, Dr. Lee, our closest and nearest GP. Dr. Lee, whom we visited many times for many stitches over many years. So, thank you, Dr. Lee, for keeping me together. I'd think I'd look like a ragdoll if it was any other doctor. One time my friends and I followed it until the end, after hours of bike riding, winding around muddy bends, traveling further down, town after town to conclude our quest, to no ends, to discover where does the creek go. The question finally answered when we looking up from our bike wheels to a wall of vines and trees where the creek it abruptly ends. We look at each other and we were all rudely disappointed to see the adventure end with the creek leading into overgrown swamplands, and that's all that was there. Just a muddy swamp out back out nowhere. The suburban tunnels. The tunnel system came from all over Sydney. All the tunnels seemed to end under the Emerton Bridge, creating a large complex tunnel system that all seemed to flow into this one destination. Summer storms. The hot anticipated suburban weather would open lead wicked suburban storms rolling in quick and fast, leaving just as quick as they come in. The tunnel system rages, causing flash flooding of the normally narrow and shallow concrete channel we call the creek. One time at the BMX track, a kick-ass thundering ball of bright green rain came rolling in from the distance. We watch in amazement before reliving we should get home. Within a second the creek began flooding. Our challenge to normal path home and risk coming raging waters or go the long ways and get stuck in hailstorm. We risk it. My sister Natasha, Pickle, Kelly and I. What happened next I still am blown away. So literally during a flash flood we decided we would try to cross, making usual shortcut in a rush. But the waters rose so high so quick, we had to join hand by hand, arm linked to arm to make our way across, dumping our bikes as they are swept away in the river. Linking arms swiss ever tighter. Halfway, we are all freaking out. It's now raging. We can barely keep a grip. My sister suddenly lets go, saying I just felt something brush past my leg. I think it was an animal. The rest of us scurry for survival, trying not to die, drown or be swept away. Finally Pickle, Kelly and I make it to the other side. However, Natasha still in the middle, searching the waters with the arms wide open, racking the water as she walked with flow. We see she's looking around for that something that brushed past her leg. We thought she was mad. We all started screaming, "Get out quickly! Get out!" And she's still searching for whatever it was. We said, "Don't worry about it. It's probably a dead rat or rabbit or something like that. Get out of the water. Get out now." The current quickens, flowing faster, almost losing her footing. With a slip and a grab, see she pulls up a black clump of wet fur. We squint our eyes to try to make out what the hell it could be. The black clump all of four then went yelp. It was a puppy. The small dog had somehow got in the water. Natasha raises it high above her head and makes her way to the side banks, saying there must be others, and trying to go back in. We wouldn't let her go back in and said, "You're better off taking this one home." By this time we could barely keep a hold on the side banks yourself. She took the pup home and cared for it all day and all night, trying to keep it warm and fed, but unfortunately it did pass away later in the second day. Once all the action and drama had dissipated, we came to realize that we experienced a near death, having come pretty damn close to being swept away with the dirty flood waters, never to be found. Chapter: Big Dude picked me up, smashes of my face. It all started with, "So, you are a wrestler?" Hey, it happened as quick as I'm saying it. A tall, bald-headed man dressed in black leather chaps and jacket walked in the front door, taking up the light in the doorway. He walks over to the kitchen table, asking my mother a bag of drugs. My mother stood up and went to the cabinet on the other side of the room where the drugs are stashed. In these few moments, me as a 8-year-old child said something like, "You're heaps tall. You'd be a good wrestler." The massive man replied with muttered words along the line of, "A wrestler, hey." Then grabbed both my arms, forced my head down between his knees. He held my arms back. He then dropped to his knees onto the floor, using all his weight with head between his knees squeezed tight as my face slammed onto the ground below, my forehead flesh cracking open with impact pressure. My skull fractured from the force. My nose met the back out my head. I thought I was dead. Seeing stars and an overwhelming pain consuming my head, I ran off, crying in shock and devastated with pain. I was never the same again. Fucking asshole. Big man in leather doing a wrestling move on a 6-year-old. Acquired brain injury acquired. Chapter: Sister lands couch on my face, just because she's a big fat cunt. That's it. That's the story of her giving me 7 stitches to the face later in life. She continued to infect the world by breeding multiple cunts, toxic minions that rebled from her load ship of selfishness to continue spreading unchained and unbounded toxicity. Chapter: A 6-year-old child held by fighting parents. The father of this 6-year-old boy, a removalist at the time, comes home in yet another drunken stupor. The ups a fight with his wife. With threats of leaving her husband, the father grabs his boy, abruptly pulling him into his chest. The arguing heightens. The boy, frightened, just stays quite silent as his mother reaches over to grab the arm of her son in an effort to pull him away from God knows what. but even she could have seen what was about to happen. Holding a tight grip to the upper arm on left of his son, his father screams, saliva sprouting from his mouth with rage and a stench of alcohol, claiming custody of the child, the boy. His boy. The child's mother reaches over, grabbing the boy's right arm and stating no, in defiance, to which my father replied, "Well, if I can't have him, no one can," pulling his head back and smashing the center of my face with his forehead with full force, intending death. The 6-year-old child at the center of his fighting parents hears the words uttered from his father's drunken face, "If I can't have him, no one can." This father then smashed his head into the face of his young boy, the force intentional of murder to end the life of the child. His motivation was to cause pain by removing the life a mother created, to kill the joy of a mother's love and replace it with guilt and remorse of not being able to save her only son, the child feeling the impact in every detail. His father forehead ramming through his nose, crushing the bones into little fragments as those fragments are further pushed back into the child's skull. The impact continues, moving past the nose and into the back of the face. His eyes bulged with pressure, the white gel about to pop as they are pushed to the back of the skull. A face inside my face, strange feeling, there'll be nothing but my bottom jaw left. With my tongue flapping about the final thoughts of child passing into unconsciously, the internal thoughts before death. My only comfort is my face is crushed beyond the reason to live. Surely I was dead. There's no way I would have survived that headbutt. But, somehow he did. This child's face had been crunched. His nose snapped and broke. The blunt force of the trauma leaked blood under the eye sockets, forever lined with black rings around the eyes, looking like he's been recently punched in both eyes. The bruised appearance a lifelong disfigurement. The pressure of the impact causing a fractured cranium, more than just emotional damage. Denial of parental reasonability after. Denial the child was never the same and had turned me into a long-term spastic with an acquired brain injury. Chapter. My dad's FC hold in our childhood adventures were not for the faint-hearted. Falling from my dad's FC hold in the door, beardy jarred, no seatbelts built in. My dad takes me for a ride after a long-awaited fix. I got in. Speeding up, I stick my head outside the window, but I slide straight out, the door wide open. Without realizing, he turns and accelerates, giving it throttle through the corner. My body hits the black tarred gravel, sliding face first. The road like sandpaper wears away my skin, from head to shine, exposed bone. Finally, Dad stops, sticks it in reverse. Once again from nowhere he scoops me up, throwing me back into the passenger side. Where did we go? Not hospital, not to Dr. Lee, not an onion either, just straight home, cold packed towels, bruises, scabs, and cool scares. The first house was made of bricks. Luckily it was, because the pricks that lived there would have burned it down. The family of mongrels and ratbags, rule-less kids with careless parents. Parents more absent present. The boys that lived there were thought to be responsible for much of the neighborhood break-ins. One time we went to investigate loud banging noises, like explosions, coming from their house. We pop our heads just above and over the fence. The 3 ratbag boys were throwing spray cans into the homemade fire pit. Kaboom! They see our heads sticking over the fence and then invite us in, wanting us to witness the almighty booms. So we jump the fence, my best friends, my sister and I. We stand in witness and listen closely in silence, listening to a fizz SS. The gas leaking from the spray can, the pressure builds up, then boom, fireball shoots up into the air. The can exploded. As the explosion takes to the sky, the spray can had split, releasing the gas, and something whizzed past me, faster than a speeding bullet, through the chipboard wood board, through an old cupboard door, past one of the boys hiding behind that same wardrobe door, then through the lower glass panel of the laundry window, looking exactly like a bullet hole, straight through the window. Realizing that the ball bearing in the can, a small metal ball to help shake and stir the paint in the can, had come pretty close and almost hit me. We come to quickly conclude that the boys had put me in that position purposefully. I looked at my sister and my friend and said, "We've got to leave now before another one explodes." We begin to run in the panic and another explosion goes boom, scurrying away. I slip, falling, trying to hurry in my escape. As we gain our feet in dust and dirt, one of the little brothers, a little fucker, ripped the hat off my head, my favorite hat. My uncle gave me that hat. He is a famous fisherman who gave me this trucker hat. It was very important and very cool. He ripped the hat off my head, then threw it over his next-door neighbor's fence. Natasha Nicholas waited out front in fear. I decided I would creep over the fence, as slowly as I could, to retrieve my hat. I put my head over the fence and see it's there. I can see it, so close. I up and over within a second. Just as I creep over ever so slowly and softly, the ratbag kid yells, calling for the dog. It rushes me. Now I'm trying to avoid to get bitten. Then boom, another explosion. The dog takes grip of my leg, biting down tight, clutching down hard, violently shaking my leg, shaking it like it was a sausage on the rope. Boom, another explosion. The dog loosens its grip. A chance to go. I hurry back over, heart beating, frightened. Now on the other side I had my hat in my hand, but then had a look down at my leg. Holy shit, I can see blood and flesh. I've been mauled. Blood gushing everywhere. I remember all I could do was call for help. 17 stitches, 1 tetanus shot, and a lot of numbing shots in between. The little bastards, I'll never forget them being so mean. Weeks later, that same nasty vicious dog accidentally hung itself over the fence, trying to jump over whilst on the lead attached to under the cola. He got over the fence, but then, it hung there. Because the rope tightened and there was not enough slack between the fence and the floor, the rope slipped between the palings and the poor thing could breathe no more. I told my father and he fell over in laughter. Chapter: The creek from Slime Time to its end. Normally narrow flowed through 3 suburban towns and abruptly ended into a swamp bush at the end of all the towns. Disappointing after a 3-hour bike ride through bridges, winding around muddy bends, traveling further down, town after town, only to conclude the question of where the creek goes was just a muddy swamp out back, out nowhere. That was that. The hot anticipated suburban weather would open lead wicked suburban storms rolling in quick and fast, leaving just as quick as they come in. The tunnel system rages, causing flash flooding of the normal narrow and shallow concrete channel we call the creek. The tunnel system came from all over Sydney. All the tunnels seem to end under the Emerton Bridge, creating a large complex tunnel system that all seem to flow into this one destination. Chapter: One time at the BMX track, flash flood. A kick-ass thundering ball of bright green rain came rolling in from the distance. We watch in amazement before reliving we should get home. Within a second the creek begun flooding. Our challenge to normal path home and risk coming raging waters, or go the long ways and get stuck in hailstorm. We risk it, my sister Natasha, Pickle, Kelly and I. What happened next, I still am blown away. Chapter: So literally during a flash flood, we decided we would try to cross, making usual shortcut in a rush, but the waters rose so high so quick, we had to join hand by hand, arm linked to arm to make our way across, dumping our bikes as they are swept away in the river. Our linking arms squeeze ever tighter. Halfway, we are all freaking out. It's now raging, we can barely keep a grip. My sister suddenly lets go, saying, "I just felt something brush past my leg." I think it was an animal. The rest of us scurry for survival, trying not to die, drown or be swept away. Finally Pickle, Kelly and I make it to the other side. However, Natasha still in the middle, searching the waters with the arms wide open, racking the water as she walked with flow. We see she's looking around for that something that brushed past her leg. We thought she was mad. We all started screaming, "Get out quickly! Get out!" And she's still searching for whatever it was. We said, "Don't worry about it. It's probably a dead rat or rabbit or something like that. Get out of the water. Get out now." The current quickens, flowing faster. almost losing her footing. With a slip and a grab, see she pulls up a black clump of wet fur. We squint our eyes to try to make out what the hell it could be. The black clump all of four then went yelp. It was a puppy. The small dog had somehow got in the water. Natasha raises it high above her head and makes her way to the side banks saying there must be others, and trying to go back in. We wouldn't let her go back in and said you're better off taking this one home. By this time we could barely keep a hold on the side banks yourself. She took the pup home and cared for it all day and all night trying to keep it warm and fed, but unfortunately I did pass away later on in the second day. Chapter: The house exploding twice. We had two burst gas mains and that led to two separate house fires. My mom lost her eyebrows with the first gas explosion. A ball of flame instantly combusts. I remember looking into the kitchen and seeing it engulfed in flame. My mother's head on fire. We got out and watched the house burn, but in the madness, gun held to my head and the trigger pulled. I remember being the age of 11, during my mother's time of desperation. In this time she got to know some desperate characters, a drug-infused mess of a broken-hearted woman, defeated. All that gave her grace was given up for that sweet taste of methamphetamines. I was sitting at the kitchen table eating Cocoa Pops for afternoon tea. I was munching away while watching the TV from the dining room. From the front way in walks this chubby, sweaty Islander man. He walks in without knocking or introduction. Stops, looks at me and asks, "Where's V?" "My mother is in the shower," I reply, as I look down to his right hand to see a shining silver thing. The shiny thing was a handgun. I quickly noticed as he lifted it up towards me. I asked, "Is that real?" The Islander guy took a step towards me without hesitation, taking 2 strides in my direction, whipping the gun to the center of my forehead and pulled the trigger. A cold gust of compressed air shot into my forehead and for a second, I thought I was dead. I blinked, laughed in panic response, and ran quickly to my mother in the bathroom screaming, "There's a man with a gun and he just shot me in the head." "Mom, I thought I was dead." By the time she and I emerged from the bathroom, the man was long gone. On a government-funded camp for starry teenagers. We were in the rock climbing room on one on the rainy days, and somehow, including the young instructor, we had started a game of gaming off the railing and being caught. Before we hit the bottom, as we got more daring and closer to the ground, I decided I would try to jump backwards. Being young, dumb, and full of confidence, I leaped from the railing with the guy dude at the end of the rope ready to pull. When I got too close, falling to a snap, whip, I hear the group gasp one ho as my head fell back a whipped inches from the concrete floor. A scene reminiscent of Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man, coming out in cinemas years later. A sad story even for me. I was a teenager stuck in such a state of self-pity, self-loathing, holding the childhood guilt of not being able to reunite any part of my broken family. A teenage lad had cut his wrist deep and many wounds leaking blood. The call out for help while stuck in my own home environment, undoubtable influence of lapsing drugs in his system, and wave of reality, memories and emotional damage that has been pushed down with the excuse of being a party boy. A teenage kid with his own government home at 18 years old, for all that alone, on the couch with bleeding wrist, arms laid up for gravity to pool the blood below, a wicked cry out for anyone who cared to show, anyone who loved me to come knocking, for anyone to care enough to come visit even if just randomly. As I lay there feeling groggy, I knew I didn't want to die, I just wanted some to love me unconditionally, to show care for the open wounds so they never appear again. Before long my thoughts of rescue fell into the dreams I was living. The pool red stain began to coagulate, a deep sleep I fell. For hours and hours I slumber. My dreams did not indicate death, but just another life to live, similar to this but just a little different. A shade of color change, a echo in the air, a place you know you've been before and will visit again. Hours later, awake from a dozy sleep, weak, I blinked twice and rubbed my eyes. looking down to see a pool of coagulated blood dried up between the floorboards and pool into a stain. How long had I been asleep and did even awake? A wonder that quickie left, realizing no one had come to my aid. No rescue by friend, family, no appearance of God. I just awoke tired, drained of the lust for the love I requested from the couch, realizing no savior would be the one to pick me up and hold me close. No one, just me, no friends, no family, no one close enough to know I was even home, let alone in such a struggle for admiration and approval. The approval of who, I asked myself, alone in a room with a pool of blood I am left to clean up, burdened with scares as a constant reminder of that time I felt abandoned, a lost child in his teenage years. Cutting became addictive, hidden lashes of self-driven pain, and took years to overcome. Brian had planned to kill me, literally. At the center of fueled hatred Brian had towards me was a lady named Wendy. His plot foiled by the witness of Wendy's child and his girlfriend crossing the road in town whilst Brian had me in the car. Seeing us and wondering why I was in the car with Brian, their faces rang alarm bells for me. Unwitting to the obvious, Brian was up to no good. Unknowing to them, Brian had earlier called and convinced me to go for a drive, saying he needing help with something somewhere. And so, I went, being gullible and all. I didn't think of any trouble until I seen the faces of my friends crossing by pure luck at the time. Well, by pure luck or survival. Because after that crossing with my friend's questioning faces, he sped up and passed without giving any answer. Avoiding eye contact, he states out loud in a frustrated tone, fuck. His chance for lacking witnesses just foiled. He continued to drive round the back streets. I knew we were going nowhere for something no good, as he drove around for an hour with an angry face, puffing his breathing with intensity. After a while pulled into a well-hidden, isolated dead-end street, out the back of Umina, near a bushland entrance. God knows what he had planned. He turned to me with intensity and angry snarl on his face. He began to make threats to kill me and cut off my balls if I was to see Wendy again. He was reaching for something under a seat, a thing he thankfully couldn't reach, while his head was down in an attempted reach under a seat. I leapt out of the car and wished him good luck. I said, Brian, you're a good man, don't let the ladies drive you crazy. And look, she only gave me a few sweet blowjobs before work, and we only shagged once on my 21st birthday, long before you guys were even together. But still, he didn't like the way I made her blush and burst with laughter at times. I quickly backed away from the car and watched him leave, before I ran as fast as I could to a public space. You see, Wendy was the mother of my best friend Chris, living on the central coast of New South Wales. Chris and I had met through mutual friends and with common interest of smoking bongs and riding bikes. Our friendship grew, and before long I got to meet his mom, Wendy, a middle-aged surfer hippie chick, a single mom, who also liked smoking bongs and hanging out late at night and early mornings, as did I. When all were asleep with hangovers ready to happen, Wendy and I would be sitting on her bed chatting for hours. Those early mornings continued as I'd call around for a morning session before work, being more comfortable than sneaking them at home. The company was great, coffee and few hot ones. We laughed and exchanged stories of past too now. Before long, one thing led to another, and I was getting oral sex with a few bongs and a cup of coffee. This went on over a few months, a time in my life where things couldn't be better. Brian came into Wendy's life shortly after my 21st, and I never interfered with that, despite Brian's conviction to murderous intentions. Concocting his plan after finding out Wendy and I had a connection he had presumed it was still ongoing or had the potential to interfere with his relationship. That inner voice of divine wisdom, intuition, one of many hard words for a dyslexican, but then once you see it you're like, Oda. Intuition. For me it is an inner voices and body chills. Sometimes my ears prick up and the tiny hairs stand to capture all it can. Others have the message at their butts, you know. I don't have to explain that roller coaster reaction in your belly, that flutter in your heart, the body telling you something isn't right. sometimes so loud and so strong that the body involuntarily reacts, leaving you to ask what. There are two instances when I can strongly recall when this intuition has saved my life. Among many times the gift of intuition has been a guardian angel saving my life and prevented death. I recall driving up to the local shopping village at night. After the bridge, the road leads up to a steep hill. Like a million times before, I drive up to the traffic lights at the main road, blinker on waiting to turn right. The radio plays and the light is red. On my God, the longest lights in the world. Tap, tap, tap Eddie, tap, I think to myself, tapping at the wheel, humming along to the song Ghetto Superstar. Finally the lights turns green. Stop. The voice inside my head screamed so loud it blocked out the music on the radio. The seriousness just gave grave warning to not move, don't accelerate, stop, don't drive forward. A bombardment of inner vocal vibrations throughout the body from head to toe, hairs tingless warning screaming intuition has me submitted. So here I am looking at a green light. I ask out loud, okay, but why? My hands up off the wheel and my foot on the brake. It's a green light. Mind you, this is quicker than I'm typing and you're reading as my lips close the question, looking forward, left to right. A jet in the shape of a P-Plater's white skyline comes blasting through the lights. Like a bat out of hell, this thing comes flying through, traveling at 100 kilometers per hour, in a flash of white and leaving a turbocharged rumbling thunder, from right to left and quickly out of sight. I released the handbrake and before I took off, I said out loud, okay then, thank you, and accelerated through the intersection. The second time was when that same voice screamed freeze as I put a foot forward to cross at the lights, so I froze 1 foot forward, held out straight. Coming speeding from my right, a little red buzz box comes buzzing through. No hesitation, running through the red light and ripping into the left turn and almost losing control. Again, I stood for a moment and said, ha, awesome, thank you, that would have been more than a broken leg, and continued walking.